intermission time. It's great to get out to the movies.
Sam, can you intro yourself, who you are, what you do, what you're all about?
My name's Sam Pressman. I run Pressman Film. Just love movies.
I love that. So do I. I love movies.
I love movies. What can I say?
Can you, for the listener who've maybe never heard of Pressman Film, give me a brief overview?
Sure. So Pressman Film was founded by my father, Ed Pressman. He started making movies in the late 60s. Started out breaking Terrence Malick's first film, Brian De Palma's early films, Oliver Stone, Catherine Bigelow. His career blows my mind. He made over 100 movies, just consistently all about empowering the filmmaker, stood for everything that I think movies should be. Pretty radical stories, pretty out there, willing to push the border. Sometimes he made really commercial movies. Sometimes he made really, weird, esoteric European films, and somehow a few of them have this cultural staying power. He passed away a year and a half ago. I had the great honor, joy, privilege of working and learning from him for over a decade, or my entire life, if you count indentured servitude, as a child reading scripts. And, now it's just about continuing the legacy. And we have had a really great retention of the team, and just here making movies and trying to keep the dream going.
I love that. At what age do you feel like you realized how cool your dad is?
He was so chill.
Yeah?
So he wasn't like all of the things you think a producer would be, kind of boisterous, all about themselves, kind of about money.
Mm-hmm.
He was just none of that. Yeah, I think in high school, I had just started smoking weed, and I found his hidden cache of weed. And my friends and I had never seen that much weed. And I was just like, damn, Pops is cool. And then the next week, it was the premiere of Never Die Alone.
Uh-huh.
No, sorry. What was the Aaliyah DMX film? Romeo Must Die.
Okay, yeah.
And Ed, my father, was about to do Never Die Alone with DMX.
Mm-hmm.
And we went to the hotel room before the premiere. And Ed was just in this room filled with smoke. I was 16 at the time. And I was like, how, you're just so chill. How could you possibly be this cool?
That's so sweet.
Meanwhile, my mom's never smoke weed.
Yeah. That's kind of like a rite of passage, I feel like, sons and dads. I've heard that story, kind of everyone has a variation of it. If you had to pick a film that describes your life right now, this is a question we ask every guest, what would it be?
The Joker, Fred to do, because I haven't seen it.
I haven't either,
It's a
actually.
musical.
Yeah.
Everybody hates it, but people are going to love it someday.
Yeah. Underdog story.
No, I don't know. That's a total bullshit
No, but I
answer.
like that.
I thought that trailer looked amazing. I can't believe I didn't see the film.
I'm still going to see it. I'm a busy bee. But Jazeel over here, he saw it, and I like the notion of everyone was rooting for the villain, the wrong people were rooting for the villain. So then this movie is almost like a humiliation act of making people embarrassed to have ever been on his side, is what I was reading a bit. So I'm curious about that.
Yeah, I love the idea that they made it to alienate the entire audience
Yeah.
that fell in love with it.
Well, I think that's kind of funny. I don't know.
Do you have can you name a movie that you feel like your life is right now?
It's so funny because I ask people this every single week, and when you're asking someone a question and you're thinking, I have no answer for myself in my head. That's how I feel right now. You know what movie's coming to mind just because I was looking at Pressman Films? Wall Street. And I'm in the very money grabbing mode right now.
Get it. Greed is good.
Yeah, I'm cash money. I want it all. Success. So that's my movie.
Are you more of a Bud Fox or Gordon Gekko?
Gordon Gekko. I just think I don't even know why that was such an immediate response, but Gordon Gekko for sure.
I'm totally camp Bud Fox.
Yeah?
I'd never sell my dad out, but also I just love everything about Charlie Sheen.
Mm-hmm.
Also that Charlie Sheen, Martin Sheen combo in that film is berserk. The scene in the elevator
That is like such, I was actually really excited to see that film was one of the Pressman films because I was looking through the website and you guys have iconic like Badlands in there, American Psycho, Thank You for Smoking.
Love that movie.
Yeah. Some of my faves.
Yeah, 100 movies. It's like, and some of them, some of them had like genuine cultural resonance for decades, right? Like defining the 80s, right? Like Wall Street and American Psycho to a degree defined a cultural moment that people emulated and continued to live. The Crow, like they're goth heads. They just did a showing of the 30-year 4K restoration at Beyond Fest.
Fun.
And they had a costume competition.
I love that.
And people showed out.
I really love that.
Amazing.
That's sick. I've never done a costume related contest. Have you?
I did some like Rocky Horror shows.
Oh, sick.
I showed up like, Inside Job, Phantom of the Paradise.
Yeah, I was about to say, it feels that's an on-brand answer for what we're going to talk about today. This question kind of goes into what I asked about a movie that describes your life, but I guess more niche. Just for listeners to get to know you better, if you had to pick a movie character that reminds you of yourself, whether that's like physically or emotionally or anything, do you have any movie characters that kind of embody you a bit?
I always loved Alex DeLarge from Clockwork Orange.
Yeah. I'm glad you also brought up Clockwork Orange because I had that in my references for Phantom of Paradise as well. Just kind of that, something about the feel, the like insanity of it.
Yeah, and there's definitely shots that De Palma is cribbing from Kubrick, right? The whole, like look of Swan's thugs is totally taken from the Droogs.
Yeah.
Right? The way they walk, the way they have, they're kind of like camp derivations of Kubrick. And
so what about that character do you feel like you resonate with?
There's like this twisted good intention that Alex DeLarge lives with. Like he genuinely believes that like he's doing God's work.
Yeah, we all believe our own delusion.
Yeah, I just loved how delusional he is, and I fell, so in love with that character, knowing full well that he's a complete psychopath.
Yeah.
But that's what great filmmakers can do. They can like focalize your brain power into thinking from the subjective space of a character and actually love all of their miscreant ways. But I'll also go with like Mr. Smith. Like, I think I'm very idealistic from Mr. Smith Goes to Washington.
Okay, I was like, which Mr. Smith? Because there's a lot of Mr. Smiths.
Agent Smith from The Matrix.
Yeah, I was also thinking like Mr. and Mrs. Smith.
I've never seen that film.
Really?
Neither the original or the Brad Pitt, Angelina Jolie.
Yeah.
But I worked on Tree of Life shortly after they got married. And I'd lied about saying I'd seen it. Yeah.
That is a question I ask people on the podcast a lot, is like movies that they've lied about seeing.
I have this tiny like Italian guy who wears a complete tuxedo, a mustache, and a top hat, and he just shows up on my shoulder if I lie about having seen a film. Just, have you seen the film? Tell me the truth. Have you seen it?
You're good at accents.
My mother was an actress and fucked me up for life. Love you, Mom.
Yeah, that's really impressive. I'm like truly, truly horrible at accents. For general movie taste, for the listener to get to know you and your style, your vibe, what are some directors that you gravitate towards and what genres do you typically watch?
I'm really all over the place.
Yeah.
I love, going back to classics. I sort of fell in love with silent era film in college when I like really said, all right, I'm not just going to look at film as a hobby, but I'm going to go in on this. And watching like F.W. Murnau and Sunrise or Dziga Vertov, The Man with a Movie Camera. I'd say, contemporary directors, Robert Eggers is just crushing it. I can't wait to see his Nosferatu.
Me too.
Werner Herzog is like my North Star.
Yeah.
I just love that his whole purpose is making cinema. He signed his book that he recently published, God against man, and man against all. And that's not even the title. Every man for himself, and God against all. Yeah. Yeah, I think like Gus Van Sant and Lars von Trier and Mary Harron, heads in the 90s that were just popping off with films that they had no business making. I love that kind of chaotic cinema. Dusan Makavejev, Milos Forman. Have you seen Dusan Makavejev's movies?
I don't think so.
It'll blow your mind. W.R. Mysteries of the Organism.
I'm going to have to write this down after we film and I'll put it on my letterbox. The watch list never ends.
Oh, it's endless. It's infinite.
Yeah. But doing the show, I always am getting ideas from the guests that we have on, or even just directors that I'm like seeing all the big hitters, but I'm like missing all the older films or the less known films. Sweet. Yeah, it's so hard to have a guest try to make their movie taste concise.
Yeah.
Because like, how could you?
It's like we're worshiping in the synagogue.
Yeah.
You know, like I often like sign off my emails like Kino Love, Kino God. Like, so when I saw synagogue, I was like, yes.
That's dope.
That's it.
Do you have an earliest memory of watching a movie? Like, what movies were you growing up watching? I feel like everyone's making up their answers based off of stories they're told.
Yeah, 100%. My mom tells me of like the first time I went to a movie premiere and the first movie I went to, and I just don't remember it all.
Mm-hmm.
I remember being on like movie sets at a very young age and then leaving this like weird imprint on my brain.
Yeah. What sets stood out to you and what films?
There was an Abel Ferrara film called Snake Eyes, not to be confused with the Brian De Palma, Nicolas Cage Snake Eyes. It changed its title to something like Dangerous Game.
Okay.
Madonna was in it. It's a crazy movie.
Okay.
And I was like running around the pool with a pool toy. I just can vividly remember like running around a pool like over and over all day. The set of Island of Dr. Moreau was particularly psychotic. I would like get dropped off and hang out with the beast creatures because the whole film is about human-animal hybridization.
Oh my God, that is so trippy for a child to be around.
And the whole crew was tripping on acid.
Yeah, incredible, as they should.
Yeah. Stuck waiting for Marlon Brando. He like showed up 2 months late.
Of course.
Yeah.
That is incredible. Terrible. I love that. That's like such a wild experience to grow up in that. Obviously to you, that is your experience. But like from anyone else, like that is a very unique childhood that you got to be in and around films all the time.
I loved it.
And it's something which is sweet, is that it's the life you were brought in, but you are still a part of it and still love it, which is awesome.
Mm-hmm. I feel really lucky.
Are there comfort movies that you gravitate towards? And then the second half of this question is, I was positioning this as uncomfort movies, but movies that you find comforting or you go back to, but no one else would really find that to be like a comforting movie. Like it's not the right genre, you know?
I love a movie of my father's, True Stories, that David Byrne directed.
Mm-hmm.
It's a musical, and it's really kind of weird and out there and sort of anachronistic. It just continues to kind of defy your expectation. And there's some songs in that film that just like set me into a really, really peaceful state. A movie that is disturbing, you know, I guess I go back to Lord of the Rings a lot.
Mm-hmm.
I love the Shire.
Yeah. For myself, I put on here like Harry Potter is always going to be a comfort movie. Just like those, when there's so many films you can go back to and be in a world for a day. Yeah.
It's just so fun to just completely like unplug and go into another world. 2001, it's not an uncomfortable film, but you're definitely just in this other universe. Peaky Blinders, not a movie. Soon to be a movie.
I love Peaky Blinders.
Love Peaky Blinders.
Such a good show. Oh, I bet you could do that accent.
Peaky fucking Blinders.
Dan, that was good.
I need a cigarette to like.
That was so good. I wish I could do that. Dan.
What's another one you want?
Yeah, hold on. Let me think. Well, when we first started, you were kind of doing an accent, like a little bit of like was it like New York?
Sort of Joe Pesci.
Yeah.
Yeah, I was just in New York, so I mean, God, it's so fucking fun. You just go steal a cigarette from. Hey, give me a cigarette, will you? Hey, it's gonna be $10. Fuck you. You know, you just get to get in people's face with that accent. It's like,
it demands the room.
Yeah.
Or the street corner. That's sweet.
We were talking about what?
I don't know. Who's to say? Well, I guess when you were talking about being on sets for different films, it makes me think of, are there any movies that you wish you could have been on set for? Like not even one that you have any affiliation to, just a movie that you would have loved to see behind the curtain.
I mean, Apocalypse Now, you watch, the making of that film, The Hearts of Darkness, and you're just, as well as Fitzcarraldo and Burden of Dreams, it's interesting when a film is so well documented that you're able to have access to feeling like you are there.
Yeah.
I think I don't live under the illusion that a movie is generally fun to be in the presence of. Like, but that's, I think the best, when I had my most fun making movies, it was like you were in a collective and you were all just down and making it. I think that from what I hear, Luca Guadagnino's sets, I got to see Queer at the New York Film Festival.
Oh, sweet.
Amazing.
I'm excited to see that. And
a director we're working with, Rel Schulman, plays a character in the film, and his life partner, I don't know, he'd like that title, life partner.
A little intimidating.
Pseudo wife.
Yeah.
Longtime lover.
Yeah.
She was in Challengers.
Oh, cool.
And when they describe what that set is like, everybody raps and they go out and have a drink together.
Fun.
That's the vibe that I want to be with on a movie, because it is a pretty monotonous, or I did a behind the scenes film on Werner Herzog's Bad Lieutenant, and he watched the first cut of what we'd made. This is far too interesting. Please, it must be more banal. I want to feel nothingness. And that's true. Like, that is a lot of what like movie sets feel like. You're like, hurry up and wait.
That one, great accent. Two, that's such a funny take that you were making it too interesting and you wanted it to be more like genuine to the experience, which makes sense. I love that.
I just think he knows, like, Burden of Dreams was so much more fun. This is nothing, man. That's
funny. What's the most unique film watching experience you've ever had? Like, whether it's the location or it was who you were with.
I think of times when I've snuck in to, like, festival premieres.
Fun.
Sneaking into The Unbearable Weight of Massive Talent and wearing this, like, Nicolas Cage sweater on both sides that I have.
Incredible.
It's like just his face. And then, like, I ended up sitting kind of like Nick Cage's center section on the right on the aisle, and I'm on the right side of the aisle, kind of 2 rows forward, so I can just peek back and look at him watching himself, playing himself and not himself.
So meta.
So much fun.
Do you think he got a glance at your outfit?
Yeah, and then I, like, went up and asked a question afterwards. I think I actually ended up in IndieWire. There was, like, a photo
really?
of me asking Nick Cage a question. I was like, hell yeah. It's just the back of my head.
That's
I have
funny.
a distinctive lack of hair.
But it was still his, didn't you say his face was on the front and the back?
Yeah,
so
yeah,
perfect.
Yeah, you see, exactly. So you just see like, Cage's face staring at the camera and Cage on stage looking down.
Hilarious.
I snuck in to exit through the gift shop
Whoa.
and said I was like the director's assistant when I was in college at Sundance. And
That's a cool one.
you walked into that. It was the world premiere. No one knew what that movie would be.
Uh-huh.
And it was such a mind bender.
That's sick. That's a sick answer.
I loved that. Yeah.
I'm very jealous.
My girlfriend and I snuck into what movie was that? Dream Scenario. Yeah, Nick Cage.
Oh, another
There's
Nick
a theme.
Cage.
Yeah,
Big
there's a theme.
Nick Cage fan.
we didn't. Yeah, I claimed to be his agent, and we went in through the back door because the line was like around the corner and then around another corner.
I'm getting ideas.
It's fun. It's like so much fun to sneak into shit.
Yeah, I love that. I mean, I live my life in a very like overly confident way, so I think I would do a good job.
Yeah, just say you're like meant to be there. You are Fran Drescher.
Yeah.
And you're there to represent the union.
Yeah.
You know.
Yeah. Go big or go home.
Fuck yeah.
Okay, so I'm going to transition us over to your movie pick for today, Phantom of Paradise. Okay, Phantom of Paradise, directed by Brian De Palma, is a rock horror musical that blends satire with dark themes. The film follows Winslow, a composer whose music is stolen by the corrupt producer Swan. After being disfigured in an accident. Winslow becomes the Phantom, seeking revenge while trying to help Phoenix, a singer he believes should perform his music. The movie explores the darker side of fame and artistic exploitation with a unique mix of rock, horror, and sharp commentary on the music industry. Do you want to do better than that?
Can't do better than Wikipedia, the cultural consciousness of billions of people.
So, I know why this was your pick today, but do you want, I believe, because of the family legacy tied to it, but do you want to share a little bit about why this is your pick?
So, Phantom of the Paradise was made in 1973, released in 1974, 50-year celebration this year.
So sick.
You asked the question of like what movie set would I want to be on, and I don't know how I didn't immediately state this, but when I watch the movie and I think of like the twinkle in my father's eyes when he would watch the film, I just feel like they had so much fun making it. Like Brian De Palma, legend, GOAT, director of the film, writer of the film. He had just come out of working for Warner Brothers in a film, How to Know Your Rabbit. And he was really, really, really not happy with working inside of the system. And my father got the rights to Sisters, and Phantom of the Paradise bought them out of where he had made a deal. And I think they just were kind of making it up as they went. Like the film has so many different genres that it's playing with.
So many.
And it has so much resonance to today. We were talking, Fangoria is doing a great article about like the 50-year legacy of the film. We've been able to, I feel like I'm on a world tour with the movie. We showed it at Cannes on the beach on the last night of the festival. There were like 2,000 people there. The movie was a complete failure.
Yeah.
Right? It came out and didn't hit.
Yeah, it was a dud.
Yeah. Yeah. Like crickets.
At what point did it transition to being such a cult fan favorite?
So a few facets. It's Guillermo del Toro's birthday today. Happy birthday to the maestro.
Wow.
Guillermo is one of the like great cheerleaders or spectacle creators for the film.
Very cool.
He and Edgar Wright did an awesome event at the Cinerama Dome for the 40-year anniversary. They've been real central to all things. Paul Williams, who wrote the music and plays Swan, the arch villain.
Yeah.
Paul was in Baby Driver and did some music for the film, and Paul is working with Guillermo del Toro on a Pan's Labyrinth musical adaptation.
So sweet.
Daft Punk met in the movie theater watching the film, if you believe the legends, and they got their
the inspiration for their look, right?
Yeah, inspiration for their look from the film, and then their record label is named after the record label in the film, Death Records.
Oh, sick.
Yeah, so I think, and they brought Paul Williams in to produce and sing on a couple songs in Random Access Memories. So, but at the same time, like 20 years ago, 15 years ago, when I was in college, it played at the Castro.
Mm-hmm.
Not like a centennial anniversary, not some special anniversary, and it was packed.
Yeah.
I don't know how it found its way, but
the Castro and SF.
Yeah, that's such a great theater.
Yeah.
God,
sweet.
we need to save these old theaters.
I love the Cast. I moved here from SF.
Okay.
So like all the venues and locations there to me like mean so much to me. But that's sweet. That's really cool. Yeah. That's what I was about to say. The Roxy's my jam.
Yeah.
I still am like on their email newsletter. I'm like, I can't make it.
Pacific Film Archive.
Yeah, because we were talking about De Palma, like to get a feel for his movies and your taste. What are some standouts to you? Because this was kind of one of its earlier movies.
Yeah, I love that. Referring to Brian
as
like, in a non-gendered way. It's movies.
Oh, I said it's.
Yeah, that's great. I mean,
his movies.
I think Brian makes Carrie right after Phantom of the Paradise.
Okay.
I just watched Peeping Tom, the Michael Powell film.
Yeah.
Which you can feel so much. Like, everybody talks about Hitchcock in relation to De Palma.
Mm-hmm.
But watching that movie, there's this, like, first-person perspective that the camera uses, and just this device of, like, feeling. He's just a master of tension. Like De Palma's climaxes when it comes to like Blowout, that movie's climax, you just
Phantom of the Paradise. Rewatched Blowout like 2 weeks ago. It's so good.
So good.
Yeah.
I watched Close Up, which is on I'm thinking of that's the Abbas Kiarostami movie. I think Brian was brilliant at making homage and making it his own. You watch Body Double, and it's so naughty. Like, he's just, like, a perverse filmmaker, and it's so much fun watching his films. They've, like, aged, and they've aged into this place where they're, like, politically incorrect for sure.
Yeah.
But there's so much fun in it, and I think even, like, a very, very sort of like straight-laced reading, it still allows for it because they're constructed so well. And you just watch them build and build, and the set pieces when he just, there's this whole Rear Window homage and Body Double, and it ends with like a massive, chainsaw that goes through the floor to kill a girl. And she's like doing a striptease, and you're just like having so much fun watching the film. And I think that like Phantom of the Paradise, which is completely outside of the rest of Brian's movies, still has so many little nuggets that then the rest of his career picks up. And it feels like they were just experimenting and having fun, and that's why it keeps fascinating audiences 50 years later.
For listeners who have not seen Phantom of Paradise yet, what movies would you compare it to?
I mean, if you imagine Rocky Horror Picture Show with good music and like meaningful social commentary and great performances, it's kind of like Rocky Horror Picture Show then.
Yeah, really like fun and campy.
Yeah.
Speaking of good music, I wrote down the different groups in the movie, the different bands that you see, and I want you to tell me which is like your favorite. So first we have the Juicy Fruits, where they're kind of the greaser 50s doo-wop. Then the Beach Bums, which is like surf rock, Beach Boys-esque. The Undead, which is like the Kiss, hard glam, Alice Cooper. Winslow himself, who's more like ballad, piano focused.
Beef.
Yeah, Beef is like glam rock, Iggy Pop, so like drugged up, but like incredible outfit. And then I guess Phoenix, like kind of folk rock, very like vocal focused.
Mm-hmm.
Which is your fave?
Beef.
Beef, yeah. Yeah, I kind of got that.
Yeah, Beef is iconic. Garrett Graham played Beef. Brian had this group, the Living Theater, in New York before he went into film. His first movie, Dionysus 69, and then subsequent films like Hi Mom, used a lot of the same actors from that group. So Garrett Graham was there, and
cool.
The collaborators. Winslow Leach is played by an incredible actor named William Finley, who's also the doctor in Sisters, the film my father made with Brian before Phantom. And Peter Elbling was one of the musicians, one of the Juicy Fruits, who are also the Undead.
Yeah, because they have their rebrand or whatever. Yeah.
Yeah, and you have the same. Peter Elbling lives in L.A. Amazing guy. He was also the choreographer of the film.
So cool.
And yeah, I think it's amazing that Paul Williams, who wrote like The Rainbow Connection, and is just this, to audiences in the 70s, he was like such an icon, and the fact that he's cast as this sex symbol is amazing.
Yeah, it's
like,
so funny.
The first time you see
all
him,
the girls in the round bed.
That's the first time he comes in and he just goes, telephone. And
it's so good.
Yeah. It's an orgy that Winslow Leach has snuck into in drag.
He just like pops out under the women. It's so good. I had the best time watching this movie because it's so campy, but it's funny, but it also has, like you said, a really relevant theme to today. And speaking of the theme and the message that comes across in the movie, I wanted to ask you, Phoenix, she's the character who's the singer that Winslow wants to sing his song. And do you think her as a character is supposed to be kind of like this pure embodiment, or does she kind of fall into the trap that everyone else does, that like fame and fortune disrupt the purity of the industry?
I think what's really fun about the film is that when you really look at the characters' foibles, they're all kind of the inverse of what they present to be.
Yeah.
Right? Like the Phantom, who is our anti-hero, who has been wronged and we're rooting for, is like kind of megalomaniacal ego killer, right? Yeah. He's a full psycho, right? The first time Winslow meets Phoenix, they're on the stairs. That part is shot in a house that's still around in Beverly Hills.
Oh, cool.
But the outside of the house is in Central Park.
Huh.
And then when you go downstairs and you're in like the venue, that's shot in Dallas.
Whoa.
So there's like one sequence where we jump from 3 cities in like a single, sequence. What was I saying? I'm saying
when you first meet Phoenix.
Yeah, when you first meet Phoenix, it's like they're lining up to audition for Swan, and Winslow says something like, "I would never let my aesthetic opinion impact my artistic judgment," because basically she's saying, "Do you think you could help me get a role in the choir, in the chorus?" And he's like, "Oh yeah, I of course, but why would you be in the chorus? You should be the lead." Right. And so there's this fun kind of producer actress. The idea that she is not pure is not necessarily an indictment on her character. She wants to succeed.
Mm-hmm.
And that is just what she's about. She wants to sing. She wants to feel the power of being on stage and having an audience adore her.
Mm-hmm.
And as soon as she feels that, Swan is able to manipulate her and get her to sign whatever he wants. So I think it's I don't know, maybe times have changed, but you think of like a story like Kesha or to a degree Taylor Swift losing her library and buying it back and re-recording. But music and all artists being exploited by the system is just as resonant today as 50 years ago. And, there's a lot of ironic twists, like Paul Williams, who plays Swan, is now the president of ASCAP. ASCAP is the organization, and their purpose is to make sure that musicians, singers, and writers get the royalties from the music they make. And yet, like, his character in the film is entirely built on exploiting artists.
Yeah.
And then you have the whole AI angle that the film kind of imagines and presupposes with the Phantom gets his teeth shut, like he gets a grill that Kanye West may or may not have just copied. And so he can't move his mouth, so he can't sing. But there's this great sequence where Swan, being this amazing music producer, is able to capture Winslow's voice.
Yeah.
And then take Winslow's voice and kind of layer it to be his voice through just a bunch. He says something like, the line is amazing. He's like, filters.
Is this when all the cords are like attached to his chest?
Yeah, when all the cords are attached to his chest in the studio, and he just says like, synthesizers, knobs.
Incredible.
And he's just, that idea of taking someone's voice is really a terrifying reality that is completely now.
Yeah, that's a really interesting point. It makes me think of last year. I'm blanking on what rapper this was, but maybe it was
This
Drake.
is why Drake got canceled.
Yeah, well, like the kid using his voice. Is that what you're talking about? I'm talking
that happened, but then like Drake did something with Tupac, which is why Kendrick came after him.
Is that really the origin?
I mean, it seemed like it. My girlfriend like 7 times in the podcast. She's sitting right next to us. I love you.
But that's a really crazy tie-in with the AI and the usage of voice. That didn't even dawn on me when watching it. But it is one of those movies like, these themes are universal, they're timeless, they're never really going away. But it's not hitting you over, it is hitting you over the head with it, but it's just like it's such a fun watch.
Do you think independent film stands a chance to connect, or is it like a bygone era?
Yeah, that's a great question. I think with talking to everyone on the podcast, like most of our guests are in the industry in some capacity, but sometimes we'll have guests that are just movie lovers. And so I just feel really hopeful and optimistic. I also do feel like, weirdly enough, with social media, like through the synagogue and all these like niche film communities, everyone's bringing back like a revival of caring and loving cinema. And going to the theaters and like supporting smaller films. It feels like everyone's itching for that community. So I'm hopeful.
Preach.
Like I'm just an optimistic person, but I truly do feel like there's like a surge happening.
I feel it.
Yeah. But yeah, so transitioning from that even to Pressman Films, like what is your vision now that it's in your hands? Where do you see it going? And can you tell the listener and myself more about the crowdfunding process that's going on right now?
Sure. I think, so I'll start with the difference. We've launched this fundraising campaign on a platform called Republic. So what's really differentiating this from crowdfunding in the past, like a Kickstarter, is that your investment actually entitles you to revenues from the films that are produced by the movie's that are funded through the raise. So the belief within this is that if our attention, our time, is the most valuable commodity that we have, and if we see that with social media, with meme culture, with the way that brands and merch can actually generate more revenue than ticket sales, the active participation of fandom is valuable. And the fan choosing to use their time to generate like their own trailer or their own T-shirt. It used to be seen as almost piracy, but now you have the studios getting wise and saying, oh, let's invite those young kids who love movies and have built a community around loving movies to our premieres. Let's give them the license. Let's let them make money with us.
Yeah.
And so within that, I think the relationship between the creator, the producer, the filmmaker, and the fans is much closer in a successful model. There is a future that is much, much more in alignment between the two, creating and capturing value from the time and effort spent on the creation of a work of art, whether that's the film itself or all of the ancillary materials that a film generates. And I grew up, on set in awe of what a movie could be. And I did a lot of work shooting behind the scenes films. And so I feel like sharing the participation of the journey of making a movie is something that would really appeal to people. And studios are trying to use influencers to get that. But I think if we actually give a revenue share to the people who believe, if you could have a piece of a studio like A24 from the jump, that's valuated at $10 billion now or something crazy, right? Like that is, A24 is A24 because of the way they've cultivated a community. And so I really believe that with this raise, we're inviting film lovers to go on a journey, and the fundraise is not for a single film, it's for a slate of multiple films. So by investing, you're going to watch the arc from development through to distribution on many different vectors. Maybe we'll have like a children's rom-com, and maybe we'll have a gory horror.
Yeah.
Right? And you'll be able to see how that movie comes together and where that evolves, and what the future could be in terms of the relationship between fan, investor, and film, I think is a space that our industry should really embrace, because creator economies like YouTubers or other people in that influencer type world, they're directly related to their community, and the studios have really struggled to do that. So independent film producers would be wise to try to experiment with new ways.
That's very smart. I'm excited to see the trajectory of this and see like what comes out of it. I'm stoked.
Have you checked out the site on republic.com?
Yeah, and also, is it too long to just like say the whole... So for those listening, who want to check this out, go to republic.com/Pressman, where you can be a part of this yourself.
$200 is the minimum buy.
Yeah, which is great. Insane.
Yeah, you can be an unaccredited investor. There's the barrier of entry is, we tried to make it as low as we could.
Yeah. Very cool.
Yeah, and what would I like to see our company be? I think my father, I really want to continue the tradition of embracing emerging talent. I think there's so many amazing filmmakers out there, and right now to be able to break some of these great young talents is part of the vision. Part of the vision is delivering on films that my father developed for years and wasn't able to realize. And then we're also fucking with animated projects. We're doing a music video that's going to be released in a couple of weeks We have 2 music films. They're both like longer than a music video and shorter than a feature film.
Kind of like Childish Gambino's Guava Island.
A little bit.
Okay.
Yeah. One of them is like, in that 20 to 30 minute area. Awesome cameos and like working with my college co-director. We used to do everything together.
Fun.
We did a VR piece with Terrence Malick and Cate Blanchett. That's been like a 6-year journey and continues to evolve. I think what a motion picture is, there's a movie and there's a truth and a validity. I was listening to Alfonso Cuarón speak about his new TV series and saying movies have a specific energy and time and they have an ending. TV just goes on and on, right? So whether a movie is 80 minutes or 3 hours long, you get lost in it. And I think that there's a validity to that. Again, my dad would say that cinemas are the cathedrals of our time. And with that in mind, the belief that just like the ancient Greeks had theater, and we still have theaters today functioning in very much the same way, there's not many things you can do on a Friday night where you get together in a communal experience for a pretty low price.
Yeah.
And get to go out and be in the world rather than just sitting on your couch. So I think there's going to be a desire to go to cinemas long beyond what the haters are saying.
I mean, I completely agree. Well, thanks for sharing about your company, and I'm excited for the listeners to kind of like check out your website and get in touch. I'm sure we'll get questions when this episode comes out, so we'll field those on Instagram and whatnot. Now I'm just going to end this with a little game of director and their best film. I'm going to say a director, and whatever comes to top of mind, you tell me what you think their best film is.
Awesome.
David Lynch.
Mulholland Drive.
Brian De Palma.
Phantom of the Paradise.
Julia, I always say her last name wrong. Julia Ducournau.
So she just did, Coralie Farraget did 210.
Mm-hmm.
Julia Ducournau, did she just do The Substance?
Mixed up. Oh, yeah, mixed up. Coralie did The Substance.
Coralie did The Substance.
Yeah.
Julia Ducournau did 210.
Yeah, right?
And Julia Ducournau's film before that was Raw.
Yes.
Raw blew my mind. But it's funny, those 2 directors, they're going to be like really fire in the next decade. I
also was going to say, when you were talking about just like interacting with the fan and the viewer being such a part of the marketing process. Sorry, I always do this. We play a game and then I get excited. Coralie is doing a great job right now on social media and on Twitter, responding to every single person's like feedback, or I've seen so much fan art.
That campaign's been the best. Yeah.
The
Longlegs level.
Yeah, exactly. Longlegs is another great example. People doing fan art, or people even, they do what we do, where we repost people's tweets on Instagram. I know it's not Twitter, but it's Twitter. And it's just like getting everything, like cyclical thoughts of like the actual viewer and bringing them up to the public. Okay, back to my game. Wim Wenders.
I rep this Paris, Texas shirt all the time, and love that film. But a lesser known film of his called Tokyo Ga, where he went to Japan to search for the cinema of Yasuhiro Ozu long after he was dead, is incredible movie.
Abel Ferrara.
Bad Lieutenant.
Martin Scorsese.
Mean Streets.
Catherine Bigelow.
Blue Steel.
Milos Forman.
I want to say Hair, but I got to say Cuckoo's Nest.
Ingmar Bergman.
Persona.
And last, I have Terrence Malick.
Badlands and Tree of Life. And
the
opening of the New World.
Amazing. That's my list.
Thank you.
This was fun.
Super fun.
I had a great time chatting movies with you. And for those listening, if they want to get in touch with your company and your crowdsourcing fundraiser, I said the website, but I can say it again. It's republic.com/Pressman. Anywhere else to reach out?
Pressman Film on Instagram, TikTok, Facebook.
All of the above.
X, formerly known as Twitter.
Sweet. Well,
we'll respond.
Oh, I love that. All right, well, thanks for being on the show, and now it's time to get lost.
Good evening.
If you enjoyed this episode, be sure to leave us 5 stars on Spotify, Apple, or wherever you get your podcasts. To stay in touch, follow our Instagram page at It's Intermission Time and share with your friends. As always, Intermission is produced by Jazeel Chu and Olivia Dean, and of course, hosted by yours truly, Megan Braun. This episode is brought to you by The Synagogue.